Barfield invites us to ask what may be one of the most central of questions. What is the imagination, or the imaginal, and in what way can it be said to be true? Here at Pneumanosophy Academy, we believe in expanding consciousness, in taking that pilgrimage into the imaginal. I'm Lewis, and if you'd like to be part of Pneumanosophy, do subscribe and click that bell. I'm going to be exploring Owen Barfield's theories concerning the philosophical nature of the imagination. But first, some imagination background, beginning with the American statesman Benjamin Franklin. By the 1700s, a fad had gripped Europe. Mesmerism, or what we commonly term today, hypnotism. Franz Anton Mesmer had developed an unorthodox therapeutic system that consisted of manipulating the psychic energies in his patients to bring about healings. This system, however, had some unsettling implications for the French autocracy. Namely, that this psychic energy that Mesmer termed animal magnetism was universal. It flowed through peasant and king alike, and thus was deemed a threat to the French establishment. It was therefore deemed necessary to bring this psychic therapeutic system into disrepute. And so, to do this, King Louis XVI set up a commission in 1784 to investigate and to discredit Mesmerism, headed up by none other than the American French ambassador, Benjamin Franklin. The commission did indeed determine that Mesmerism was a hoax, that there was no universal psychic energy, and that the healings that had resulted from Mesmer's technique could be attributed to mere imagination, which is an astonishing admission. The report acknowledged that sick people did get better, and that the catalyst for these healings was the imagination itself. No further clarification was given. Now, moving forward one century, the 19th century English Romantic poets like Wordsworth, Keats, Coleridge, and Shelley also stumbled upon the significance of the imagination. They advanced our consciousness of the imagination considerably. But though they stood before these gates leading upon our barely charted depths, this imaginal realm within, their poetic forays barely began to plumb those depths before them. At least that would be the charge levelled against them by the British philosopher Owen Barfield, who believed the English Romantics failed, ultimately, to grasp the true significance of their discovery and where it could lead. Samuel Taylor Coleridge, one of these English Romantics, barely began to grapple with the philosophical nature of the imagination. But he did get this far. He distinguished between two forms of imagination. The primary imagination, which is the higher transcendental form, the pinnacle of human perception, bound up with the imagination of the divine mind, the infinite I am. And the secondary form of imagination, which is the more terrestrial, everyday, our empty fancifulness. In the 20th century, the Islamic scholar Henry Corbin made a similar distinction between a lower and a higher form of imagination. The lower he termed the imaginary, the higher the imaginal. This Coleridgean distinction, then, is taken up by Owen Barfield, and in particular, he's interested in the imaginal, the hidden potential within our faculty of imagination, the necessity of that faculty, and what this faculty says, ultimately, about our human identity. If we follow down the imagination, down deeply enough, one experiences the disappearance of our sense of I. We stand before an object and feel, I am that. Barfield links this experience with the Hindu maxim, tat tvam asi, meaning you are it, or I am that. That being everything, ultimate reality, the totality, the Brahman in the Hindu tradition, the all. This is our true nature, our human identity. But of course, we are distracted. We are invested in our exterior, in our persona. And this falsification of what we are, of our human nature, particularly within Western thought, causes the mind-body dualism error. It causes us to elevate the subject-object distinction. We're left understanding ourselves to be fundamentally separate from the world we perceive around us. But the truth is, or the reality is, that we are all in all. We are what we perceive and what we experience. And this knowing is only possible through the pinnacle of our human perception, through the imagination, or through the imaginal. Barfield also linked this to the Socratic maxim, know thyself, which means fundamentally the same as to make the unconscious conscious, which we can also think of as being very much Jungian. To be whole, to facilitate our own individuation, we must come to know the unconscious part of ourselves via the imagination. The English Romantics' failure to grasp this left Romanticism weak and rootless, and ultimately unable to withstand the onslaught of materialism and positivism. But that's not to say that we cannot now recover Romanticism's lost potential, that we cannot repair the breach and further our own spiritual development. That is the purpose of this channel and Pneumanosophy. And Barfield believed it was our responsibility to try. The seminal figure then that Barfield pointed to, who personified this effort most fully in our modern age, was the Austrian esotericist Rudolf Steiner, who used the imagination as his modus operandus in perceiving truth, a method of deep seeing, through a dispensation of the subject-object dichotomy. He would jump into the depths of his eye, into that unseen seer, the observer within, and thus enter upon the imaginal realm, the spiritual world, the mundus imaginalis. In this video, we touched briefly upon mesmerism. If you'd like to learn more about mesmerism and the impact his therapeutic system had upon Western spirituality, particularly in the States, then do click here. And if you'd like to watch another Pneumanosophy Academy video, then you can click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.